What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from Mtg. We like magic, and I'm here today, fun topic, to talk to you about what I think the 5 best decks are at the beginning of Ixalan Standard. Now, first of all, yeah, this is a subjective list, as any list like this is going to be, but at least it's an educated, subjective list. I've tried to pull data from a couple of things. What I'm weighing most heavily is the first few days of MTGO's standard competitive league results from Magic Online. That is definitely going to get the most of my attention as far as deciding what the first couple of weeks of the standard are going to look like. But there's also been a lot of discussion on Spikes, the competitive Magic subreddit, and, you know, whatever I've seen on Xmage in the last week or so here. And there's a lot of different stuff on Xmage. But again, what I'm weighing the most heavily here is the MTGO league results from the past few days. I think that'll tell us a lot about what to expect from the first couple of weeks of the format. First and foremost, the thing you need to expect at the beginning of a new format after a big rotation like this one is that proven strategies that are already good are going to be bankable, to be decent at the beginning of a format. Mostly because everybody knows the ins and outs of those decks. They know the tech. They've been playing those decks for a year, and they know their matchups for the most part. So they're not going to stop playing them, and they're certainly not going to spend a bunch of money on a brand new deck, especially in an untested or unproven meta. So most people are going to stick with decks that they already know, and you can count on that. That being said, I hate to say it, but I think that the 2 decks that we need to look out for the most at the beginning of Ixalan Standard are 2 decks that we know a good bit about already, Ramunap Red and Temur Energy. Now, the most important thing about these 2 decks that I think makes them so killer at the beginning of Ixalan Standard is that they really didn't lose much. You know, Ramunap Red lost some 1-drops, but at this point it's whatever because it got Lightning Strike, which is the card that it always wanted. I mean, Lightning Strike, just over, MTGO League results the last few days, is the most played card from Ixalan, kind of by a lot. It's been added to every single Ramunap Red deck that I've seen so far, at least. As far as other new cards from Ixalan and Ramunap Red, I have seen people play Rigging Runner in some of these Ramunap Red decks to sort of fill the slots that were lost by Falcon Wrathgorger, Village Messenger to a smaller extent. So I have seen people play like a 2-of Runner, but mostly it's all about Lightning Strike. And a card that I think they may play eventually, at least, is Rampaging Ferocidon. I have seen this in one Ramunap Red list, and I've seen it in the sideboard of another list, but it all depends on what this format ends up looking like. This could be a much better card 2 weeks from now than it is right now in Ramunap Red, but I think it will have its moment because Red is the deck it belongs in. Something else that I kind of think makes Ramunap Red a lock in the early stages here of Ixalan is the fact that we lost Grasp of Darkness. And Grasp of Darkness was the best answer, period, to Hazoret the Fervent, which could run rampant at this point. And yeah, there's still answers. There's Vraska's Contempt. That's new from Ixalan. There's Cast Out. And there's Settle the Wreckage. More on that card later. But for the most part, all 3 of those cards cost double what Grasp cost. They're just not as efficient in that manner. So it sucks not having Grasp around because Hazoret gets much better in a format with that Grasp of Darkness, and that's hard to deny. But what I think makes Temur so strong is that it didn't lose anything. Like Ramunap Red gained a couple of pieces and lost a couple of pieces, mostly 1-drops, but Temur lost nothing. It didn't gain anything either, really, but it lost 0 things, like Whirl of Virtuoso, Rogue Refiner, Attune with Ether, Harness Lightning, Bristling Hydrolite. The gang's still all here. Glorybringer, Ronus, that deck is still 100% intact. And so since people have been playing it for a while now, and it was definitely proven to be one of the best decks in the previous standard, I don't see there being anything different, again, at least for the first couple of weeks. The hot tech with Temur that I have seen in a couple of lists here is the Scarab God. People were doing this at the end of the last standard, but not as consistently as I've seen it both on MTGO League results and on Xmage. So this is a much more common thing to do in Temur at this point. You've got the ability to make the mana, why not? Because you can get that extra black mana between Ether Hub and Servant of the Conduit. There are ways to get the black mana for a Scarab God, and it's just ridiculous. So I love that. That seems like pretty fresh tech right there. But again, for the most part, it just didn't lose anything. Like, everything is still very much in place for Temur to be a real deck, and it's not going to just stop being a real deck just because a new set came out. So those are the 2 decks that I think are sort of on the top tier as we go into the first week or 2 of Standard, but there's some spice on the second rung of the ladder that I want to talk about, starting with Dinosaurs. If there's a tribe from Ixalan, if there's an Ixalan-centric deck that could actually do something in the first couple of weeks, I think Dinosaurs is the best pick. Well, just from reading the cards, it appears as though Dinosaurs is a step above most of the other tribes in Ixalan, but playing the cards, that apparently bears out. It just seems to be, again, just on a whole other level from decks like Pirates, which is definitely the runner-up, I would say, in Ixalan tribes, but it's just, there's a huge degree of separation between Pirates and Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs feels like the much, much, much better deck when you're playing it. It just plays the best guys in the format on curve, some of the hardest dudes to deal with. Regisaur Alpha leaves a guy behind. Ripjaw Raptor has huge toughness and lets us draw cards. Bristling Hydra is in a lot of versions of this deck. He's incredibly hard to deal with. Ronus, ditto, indestructible. And Carnage Tyrant is just like, there are very few answers in the format for a card like Carnage Tyrant. So it just has all the toughest to get guys. Like, it's really hard to remove their dudes. So I think that Dinosaurs definitely has a chance to show out in the first week of the format. If any Ixalan-centric deck is going to do it, it's probably going to be Dinos. Now, a deck that I think does have answers, not only for Dinosaurs, but lots of decks in the format, is Blue-White Approach Control, which I've been building for the channel for a while now. I've enjoyed it a lot, so it didn't surprise me to see it do so well in MTGO Standard League results so far. It's been popping up quite a bit. Not only that, but also on Xmage, I've seen this deck a few times. This is where I wanted to talk specifically about Settle the Wreckage for another second. So far, for a lot of people, this card has done really, really well. A lot of people say it's one of the better reasons to play Blue-White Approach right now, not only because it takes care of Carnage Tyrants, which you will see post-Game 1 a lot of the time in a deck with green, because people are really packing Carnage Tyrant just in case they run into control. But Settle the Wreckage helps out with that a lot. Same thing with Hazaret and Bristling Hydra and Ronus and lots of other creatures that you might have to deal with that are a little bit tough to deal with. It can also deal with Alpha and the token that it brings out. It can deal with Ripjaw without drawing them a card. There's a lot of stuff that Settle the Wreckage does, even if you do ramp them a little bit. If they don't have any cards in their hand, this is really good. So this is one of the best pieces that you can have against Ramunap Red, which again is proving to be one of the best decks going into Ixalan Standard. And for a deck to like Blue-White to beat Ramunap Red, at least in any consistent way, it's got to have a piece like this. It's really, really low on the mana. 4 mana is exactly where you want to be. And if you ramp them, but they don't have any cards in their hand, it kind of doesn't matter. But Settle the Wreckage isn't the only thing that it got from Ixalan. More than like any other existing deck, I think Blue-White Approach benefited from Ixalan coming out. It got a bunch of good pieces. Obviously Opt. A lot of people playing 3 to 4 of Opt because it's ridiculous. It really helps you get to the answers that you need to get to as quickly and as efficiently as possible. That's exactly what Control wants. And it got Search for Iskanto, which is a very good card. A lot of people playing 1 to 2 copies of that main deck and another copy usually in the board. Really awesome card for a Control deck. We all could tell that. And a couple of these lists, by the way, that I've seen, kind of surprisingly, are playing at least a 2 of Slash of Talons, and sometimes I've seen a 3. That's kind of a huge surprise, but it's their version of Shock, I guess. And again, you gotta have a good matchup against Ramunap Red, or you just kind of lose, so it doesn't surprise me that some Blue-White variants are playing this card, but not all. Add to that the fact that Fumigate is good against a lot of the field right now. Like, Fumigate is good in the Ramunap Red matchup, provided you can make it to turn 5. It really helps you turn the corner, kill their dudes, gain some life. That's what we want. And it's good against Carnage Tyrant and the huge board that deck can sometimes maintain. So, Fumigate is just good, period, in this format. Not necessarily the best sweeper, but kind of maybe the best sweeper. So, Blue-White's got that going for it too, plus a bevy of counter spells and stuff. All the best card draw in the format, obviously. They got Glimmer and Opt at this point. It's just kind of filthy. So Blue-White is looking really good, even though control decks aren't usually great at the beginning of the format. Before a format is truly established, you don't know what you're trying to answer, so building a deck full of answers is kind of foolhardy. But right now, Blue-White Control is looking like the best beginning of a format control deck in a really, really long time, and it's already posting results. As far as the last deck that I want to talk about here, I kind of want to give it to Green-Black Snake, even though they lost Grasp of Darkness. Kind of sucks, but they can still play Contempt, I guess, if they want to do that. But I think Walking Ballista looks really, really good in this next format, so Green-Black Snake is looking alright, but the losses of Grasp really makes me kind of... I'm worried about Green-Black is all I'm saying. But I think it definitely has some pieces, and Vraska's one of them too. But the deck that I think edges it out just a little bit, at least again at the beginning of the format, is God-Pharaoh's Gift. Again, a little bit surprisingly. This is a deck that's shown up in the league results a couple of times and is a little present on Xmage because people are trying a bunch of different stuff from Ixalan with this deck. But Oddly, the one that's posting the results on MTGO leagues they don't really use like any new cards from Ixalan, which kind of sucks. I was hoping to see Goring Ceratops in this list at the very, very least. And there's some other stuff from Ixalan that I thought would have made it. Like a Jeskai God-Pharaoh's Gift looks kind of good because there's a couple of awesome dudes, you know. But still, just the plain old version of Blue-White God-Pharaoh's Gift with Angels of Invention and Angel of Sanctions, that is seeing a good amount of play at the beginning of the format, at least from what we can tell by what little data we have. So I wouldn't be surprised if that showed up at a Star City Open or something, again, very early on. I know there's a lot of hate for it in the format. You know, there's specifically Sentinel Totem we just got, there's Crook of Condemnation, Scavenger Grounds, whatever, there's a lot of cards, but I still think that if MTGO league results are anything to go by at all, and again, at the beginning of the format, they're all the data we have, so we'll take it. You know, and that goes for people that are going to opens and stuff too. So that's all the data we have. So if we have to base anything on it, then it looks like God-Pharaoh's Gift is not entirely dead. But I'm tapped out for now. Let me know how you felt about all this down there in the comments section. I might get a little bit of hate on this video because people are like, oh, these decks are old. And like, yeah, I get it. I know it's horrible. But again, at least for the first couple of weeks, I think this is what we're looking at. Not just from MTGO league results or Xmage or Reddit or any of that stuff, but also
what I like to call my horse sense.
Make sure you like the video if you like the video. Follow me on Twitter at SBMTGDev, or you can kick me a buck on Patreon at patreon.com/SBMTG. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Trying to get them subscribers up, and it's Deck Tech season. Like, we've already done Dinosaurs, we've done Pirates, so, you know, there's more awesome Deck Techs, like a lot of them, coming up. So go ahead and sub if you haven't done it yet. Hit the bell for the notifications so you know when I put the decks out. It's pretty simple. And remember, this video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. They help me bring you content, so I hope you check them out. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go over there and get $90 boxes of Ixalan. That's a freaking good deal. So check them out, and I will catch you cats later. I'm Deb from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.